Hello and welcome to another session of Riding the Bear. This session is brought to you by the Skylabs and Vetter ecosystem. My name is Ryan. I'm so glad to be your host today. We got Metal Ride, we got Ryan Smoot, we got Crypto Dread in house. Welcome, guys. Go ahead and drop a comment saying hello. Letting everybody know who is watching with us live. Now, in the last year, over 16,000 projects have launched in the crypto space, and I got a question. How is it possible for you to find, research, and manage all of these projects? That's exactly what we do here in the Vetter ecosystem. We utilize crowdsourcing to save time, energy, and money here in the crypto space. We work together to find projects that have potential, while at the same time we bring up warnings and awareness and red flags on projects that could be a concern. Now, for the last 6 months, we've recorded around over 100 plus live sessions just like this, supporting the community and navigating the CrowdX Calendar, finding 2x to 100x gems, and even avoiding some questionable projects. And we're actually going to get into the calendar today to look at some projects. But before we do that, I do want to have a bit of a celebration. There's some pretty cool things going on in the world of crypto today, and I did want to celebrate some of that stuff. So first off, let's see here. First off, what I want to do is let's go to Telegram, and we're going to pull up Carecoin. We talked about Carecoin this last week, and they actually finished their their pre-sale, and it was a fair launch pre-sale. I was trying to find the link. Here we go. They raised, let's pull it up here. They ended up raising, I think it was over 300 BNB. Yeah, so they raised 389 BNB. They did a fair launch pre-sale, and ended up having 279 contributors. They seem to be happy and pleased with that. The V1 holders, they're going to get their airdrop 30 days later, so they're somewhat vested. So this project is going to be launching tomorrow. So if you are watching this project and following along, make sure you stay plugged into to Telegram so you get all the updates for this. But just want to give a shout out to Carecoin V2 for their successful fair launch raise. And then the other thing I wanted to look at was another project that we looked up this last week. We looked up Evergrow. They're launching their second token in their ecosystem, Lucro, and they actually did a pretty good. They had some challenges similar to that of Skylabs, with some shenanigans going on with bots and snipers and things like that. And they're sitting pretty good right now. Let's go ahead and pull up the chart. But they launched today, and so they're sitting pretty good. And so again, shout out to them for navigating the crypto space and fighting off bots just like we did. They're off to a good start. So I wanted to pull up the chart just real quick so we could take a look at that. Okay, so nothing spectacular, but it is profitable. Okay, and I wanted to bring this up is as a means of, if you're watching these sessions and you're tuning into the community and following along, you know that there's so much stuff that can happen leading up to a launch, leading up to a pre-sale, after the launch, during the launch, all the things. It's all part of the story. But what you get to recognize and realize is no matter how great a project looks on the outside, we can do our due diligence. We can have countless conversations. We can do countless AMAs, get all of our questions asked, all of our questions answered. It looks like a grand slam. But guess what? It's going to do what it's going to do, and you have absolutely zero control. Okay? Absolutely zero control on whether the project is going to be successful short-term or long-term. Okay? I would say that in the first 24 hours, I would say that, it's incredibly random, incredibly wild. And we're talking about Lucro, we're talking about Carecoin, we're talking about any other project. There's just this level of just total randomness that can take place. I believe more so all the things that we look for in great projects are realized over time. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's always great to have a really great launch. But if you believe in the team and the mission, the mission and the vision and everything that's going on in that ecosystem, it is simply a matter of time. And I've said this over and over again about Vetter, about Skylabs. It is not a matter of if we make it. It's simply a matter of when. And again, I think it's worth having that same mentality when you look at these other projects. If these projects check your boxes, you don't be discouraged if it doesn't do a 2x or if it doesn't do a 10x or whatever you thought it was going to do. I would simply say, if you believe in the team, you believe in the vision, the mission, and what's going on, it is simply a matter of time, of when it's going to happen, when they're going to reach their goals. I can show you countless projects that have been slow. We'll just call it slow. We'll call it the winter months, the last handful of months. It's been slow, but they're starting to rise, and that's because of the team and the community and things behind that. And so I just wanted to plant that seed. Again, we looked at Carecoin this last week. We looked at Lucro this last week, and again, it can check all the boxes, but ultimately, you personally have absolutely zero control over whether it's going to be profitable or not. So it all comes down to you sticking to your personal plan and following that process. Okay, so we got Kim with us, Deborah, Carl, Brandy. We got King Astro, Wanda. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today's topic, what we're going to be covering today is VOL, which stands for volume of launches. And this is a perfect tie into what I was just saying. Okay, there's zero control over whether you can actually move the needle personally as an individual. As a community, absolutely. As an individual, not so much. I mean, everybody does a little bit of work, but what I mean is you're not going to make the chart pump. Okay, and volume of launches, VOL stands for volume of launches, and this whole idea and concept is understanding what's going to happen or what could potentially happen during the pre-sale, during a launch when you're looking at projects. What do I mean by that? Well, volume of launches is all about having an understanding of when you're going to enter. Okay? When you're going to exit. Do you take a full or partial profit? Do you dollar cost average in? Do you dollar cost average out? Are you going to rip? Are you going to rip FT? Does your strategy of finding pre-sales actually work? Do you over leverage? For example, if you only have one BNB to invest, that's the amount that's it. That's all you have. Are you the type that's going to go in one BNB into one project or 0.1 into 10 projects? Okay, this is what you get to figure out during your volume of launches and see how that works out over time. Do you ape in when you shouldn't? Meaning you didn't like a project, it didn't check your boxes, but you see everybody else excited, they're going to do it, so you go ahead and do it anyway. Do you sell early? Do you sell early? So for example, let's pull up the chart back for Lucro. So for example, let's say that your target was a 3x. Okay, so right up there. And it started coming down and you're like, I'm out. This is what you can figure out during a volume of launches. And what I mean figure out is you can figure out if that is a good play or a bad play. It's not for me to tell you what that is, but over a volume of launches, you'll be able to figure that out. How often does it hit your targets? Statistically speaking, if 70% of the time it goes for a 3x, you would recognize, well, this is kind of silly to sell right here. This is panic selling. Okay, while you're worried about what the price is doing, not realizing, hey, you believe in the vision, the mission, the project, the team. Like, statistically speaking, 7 out of 10 times it's going to hit your take profit. So why would you sell here? The only way you know that is through a volume of launches. Okay. Do you sell too late? Okay, so for example, let's say it's pumping right now. Okay, let's say it's pumping and it's crossed over your 3x goal. And it's just going with so much momentum. You're like, no. Let's just ride this out. I'll sell at the 4x. I'll sell at the next rest stop. I'll pull over later. You get to learn that through your volume of launches. What patterns can you recognize? Meaning patterns about yourself, over leveraging, selling too soon, not selling soon enough, vice versa. Okay? Also, the idea of watching patterns and trends during the season. So, for example, we're in a quote-unquote bear market. Conditions are different today than they perhaps were 6 months ago, 9 months ago, a year ago. And if you're not recording that information, you're missing out on valuable resources. Meaning, there was a period in time, a few months back, where the high APY trends were rocking and rolling, and people would ask me, well, is it sustainable? And my question would be like, well, what is your goal? If you're looking to get a RIP or RIP FT, what does it matter if the APY is sustainable or not? Like, you're in and out, and on to the next project. Okay? And so that obviously comes down to the goal. But there were a handful of projects, 6 projects, had these high APY, and because I was documenting this stuff, because I was watching this stuff, I realized that every one of those projects reversed between the 40 and 60% range. Okay? But between the 40 and 60% range. So if you personally are targeting those projects, and again, like I think it was like 70% of them didn't come back. That 30% did come back, but the 70% didn't. Without knowing those numbers, how can you possibly manage those trades? How can you manage those launches? And this is where a volume of launches comes in. You can recognize those patterns, those trends. You can see how the game is played, and then make your strategy based on that instead of just hoping and wishing that something good is going to come along. Now, there's other types of patterns that you can recognize. For example, we've been talking about when we're looking at Carecoin, they were using some different AMA groups. They were using some different call groups. And so we were thinking, perhaps this is something to watch and something to look at. I personally, being on the auditing side, I've seen projects that if they use TravelAd, they would get a result at launch. If I saw another project that would use Venom in conjunction with Caesar, they would get a better result at launch. This was just an observation. Okay, but through enough of those, watching enough of those, I was realizing that, hey, there's some similarities here. There's some patterns here. I know Metal-O-Ride, he's created a list of audit companies. And with those audit companies, that is a tool in his tool belt that allows him to see patterns of like, oh, what are these companies using? Oh, these are garbage companies. We could fork out, a couple $1,000, have an audit ready, and just so we can check that box, versus legit companies who are doing a great job. That matters. That matters, and you only find that through a volume of launches. Another thing that Metal-O-Ride has done, he's been able to see patterns with certain types of gaming projects, where there may be a nice pump in the beginning, and then there's a sell-off, and then there's this consolidation phase where not much is happening, and then the marketing starts ramping up, and like clockwork, there's a specific period of time, and then it just blows up. And we're talking massive gains. And this has happened for him time and time again. But he figured it out because of his volume of launches. He recognizes what's going on. He's taking notes. He's very aware of what's going on. Okay. Another thing to think about is the low and the rise. For example, how low can you go? People say buy the dip. Well, what's a dip? Is a dip 25% pullback? 50% pullback, 75% pullback, 100%? What's a dip? How do you know? If it goes past 100%, statistically, how likely is it to go above 100% once it does that? Is the project dead at that point? I don't know. That's not one of the things I track personally. But for you, if you're all about maximizing and want to absolutely maximize your profits, you may realize that statistically, that 70% of the time, if a project drops 75%, and based on your criteria, if it drops 75%, it's going to do X, Y, Z after that. And you could literally have a plan and strategy around that instead of just hoping, wishing, hoping for a dip, waiting for a dip, wishing, hoping it doesn't dip too low, or hoping once it dips it turns back. You can take a lot of this pressure and stress away from things that you can't control, but yet stack probabilities in your favor. Okay. Another thing to think about is the scouts that you follow. Okay, so everything I just said could be done for you personally. If you're looking at projects on the calendar and you're finding specific projects and it checks your boxes, this is one way to do that. Another way to do volume of launches is looking at the scout that you follow. How do they perform? Okay, we have the follow feature for the Vetter token in the CrowdX Calendar, where literally whenever you follow a scout, whenever they scout a new project or they like a project or favorite a project, add it to their watch list, you get notified. And so that can give you insights and ideas on their performance, and you can make your choices and decisions based on that. So for example, you may be following a scout and they have a 70% success rate. And so if you know that, you're not going to lose your mind if you happen to lose 3 projects in a row. Lose is a relative term, but if the launch doesn't do what you think it's going to do in the first 24 hours, we'll just call that a loss. If you lose 3 of those in a row, it's not the end of the world, because you realize that the system that the scout trades is 75% or 70% success rate, meaning 7 out of 10 are going to win. You just happen to get three in a row that were not that great. But over a volume of launches, the numbers work out. Okay, the numbers work out. So another way to call this, another thing to call this, is paper trading. Okay, so one of the things that you can do is, you can do all of this stuff with real money. Okay, you can do all this stuff with real money, and you can pay for every lesson learned. Okay, you can contribute your B&B to these projects, and you can pay for that lesson. You can almost kind of look at it like a tip. You're paying for the lessons learned. You realize, well, that sucks. That didn't work the way I thought it would. You realize that your target's always a 3x, but all the projects that you've gotten into the last 90 days only do a 2x. Perhaps it's time to change your targets. You learn this by volume of launches. So another way, like I said, paper trading is the same thing. The thing about paper trading, though, is it allows you to learn these lessons without spending the money. You treat it seriously. You treat it just like you were to get into the project itself. You're in Telegram, you're in Discord, you're in the community, you're asking questions of the team, of other people, you're getting all your questions answered, you're doing your research, you're doing your due diligence, you're going to show up to the pre-sale, you're just not going to contribute. You're going to pretend like you did, okay? And then you're going to show up to launch. And you're going to pretend that you collected your tokens, and you're going to mark up the chart on where your take profit is. Let's say you want to get out at a 2x or a 50% gain, whatever the case. You treat it seriously. You paper trade it. And then you track down your results. Why? Because you're learning. You want to see what works, what doesn't work, and what's in the gap. It's real simple. Now, why do you do all of these things? It's something called KSP, Knowledge of System Performance. KSP, Knowledge of System Performance. You can now understand that when you show up to a pre-sale, when you show up to a launch, you have a plan in mind, and you can simply execute this plan instead of hoping, wishing, praying, crossing your fingers that this is going to be the next token that changes your life. Instead, there's a systematic approach to showing up, realizing that if I'm looking for these types of projects that check these types of boxes, I know that over a volume of these launches, I'm going to accomplish my goals. You're not distracted or discouraged by what price does or doesn't do. You're not distracted or discouraged by this project had everything, but it tanked. It doesn't matter. Why? Because you have KSP, you know that a volume of launches, you're going to get the results that you want to get over time. through a volume of launches. A volume of launches is not one. You know, we don't have one launch and we say, okay, we don't have one launch and say, oh yeah, this is how this works. No, we have one launch and say, oh, that was interesting. Okay, KSP stands for knowledge of system performance. And so that's how that works. Okay, it's not just one. It's not just two. It's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. It is ongoing. It's constantly watching, evolving, growing, documenting the process. That's how you get better. That's how you sharpen your axe. I think there's like Abraham Lincoln quote that said something like, if he had, a couple hours, few hours to chop down a cherry tree, he would spend the first couple hours sharpening his axe. That's what this is. Okay? We're in a quote-unquote bear market. We're in a quote-unquote winter season. The best thing you could do right now is be sharpening your axe. Learning how to, like I said, I think I said something in Telegram earlier about, taming the bear so you can, dominate the bull. The skill sets that you learn right now can support you when this market is rocking and rolling. Because the fact of the matter is, the worst thing that can happen to you in the crypto space is you to show up without a plan, over leveraging, overhype, aping in, and actually winning. Why? Because that tells you, unfortunately, that you know what you're doing. But quite frankly, you just got lucky. And the people who got lucky are getting exposed in the market right now. Okay? And so right now is a perfect time to sharpen your axe, develop your skill sets, develop your understanding, get a game plan in place. So when it's time to hop on the bull, you're in full control, you know what's going on, you can rock and roll and execute. Okay? So this is a document that I created. I'm going to go ahead and put it in chat here. And this is something that you can use to track your volume of launches. And we're going to go over it together. Okay, so there, I added the chat there. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click File and then make a copy. Okay, so you can save it to your own Google Drive. And that way, you can have access to that there, okay? And we're just going to go over this on how to use this. And this is just a framework, okay? You can use it any way you see fit, but this is just an idea to give you some ideas on how to use this, what to keep track of, and things like that, okay? So at the bottom here, I do have a video here. It's a Loom video. You can click this and watch. I don't remember. This may have been on my wife's... truthfully, this may have been on my wife's Loom account, so I don't know if the video is still there or not. I didn't check it before we got on. If you happen to watch it and it's not there, just let me know. I'll record another one, no problem. But here we go. Volume of launches. So this tab right here is where you keep track of everything. Okay? You can see the project date. You put the date there, the name of the project. Right here, if you put a Y or a yes, a Y, which represents yes, and N represents no. This is just basically saying, was a project profitable or not? Okay, and like I said, this is an old document. I am going to be making some updates to it based on some other things that I've been doing on my own stuff that I think will be really helpful. But this just kind of gives you an idea of was a project profitable. Now, profitability comes down to your own personal strategy. Are you looking for profitability in 24 hours? Are you looking for 7 days, 30 days, so on and so forth? Now, what would be really helpful is, for example, part of the KSP, part of the things you learn would be maybe the projects you're looking at this particular season of life, they don't necessarily hit your take profits in 24 hours or 7 days, but they happen to hit it in 30 days. That's valuable. That's valuable because now you know these are long-term plays. At this particular chapter of your life and this particular season of crypto, you recognize that maybe these big-time plays are happening over time instead of in 24 hours just based on the season that we're in. Okay? Keeping track of this information will help you realize that. Instead of just thinking that you suck at picking projects, because they tank in the first 24 hours, you may realize like, oh, wait a second, I'm actually really good. Maybe the market sucks. Or maybe there's a lot of people who are all about pump and dumps. Or maybe, maybe all these knuckleheads who were jumping in the projects the last couple of years have lost money because they actually didn't know what they were doing. And it takes the project a little bit of time to actually find mature investors who want to invest in the project. Okay, so these are the things that you can learn by doing that. So right here you can put the price, so then you know where the entry was. You can put the Scout ID. Why would you want to put the Scout ID? The reason you want to put the Scout ID is because you may start recognizing that every time you get into one of Metal Ride's projects, you do good. That would be a metric you'd want to track. Okay, you may realize that every time you get in Rico's projects, that Rico's projects tank. Or Rico's projects tank in the first 24 hours, but they do fantastic in the 7 days. So you realize that Rico is a midterm play, maybe Metal Ride's a 24-hour play, and maybe Bob is a 30-day play. If you track this stuff, you'll be able to know. Here you can put the Vetter platform link, so you can always go back to it. Here you can put the chart link, so PooCoin or Dex Tools or Dex Screener, something like that. And then presale link. I like keeping that just to check up on things. So again, you can customize this however you want, whatever details you want to have. But as an auditor, I try to provide and keep as much information as I possibly can about a project, so it's really easily accessible every time I turn around. Okay. Percent gained. Right here, you can talk about the gains. What was the gain of this project? Oh, it was 100% gain. Okay, cool. And or it was 25% gain, and then it actually tanked a little bit. It's only 10%, but after the 30-day, it was 300% gain. And so you can track that stuff, and you can see how that stuff is working. Now here is a game changer. Numbers are great, okay, but getting in tune to who you are, what you're about, your personal makeup. This will change the game for you, okay? So imagine that you actually started taking notes about what you liked about a project, what you dislike about a project, and any thoughts that you had leading into the pre-sale or launch, okay? So for example, right here it says, I was really nervous about the project, something didn't feel right, but I got in anyway. Okay, so literally, you felt like something was wrong. You were unsure, but you decided to go ahead and do it anyway. Post-launch notes. It ended up rugging right at launch, and you knew something felt off. It's okay. Don't chalk this up as a loss. Chalk it up as a lesson. All right. Now you realize that maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something about your spirit or your vibe that like something just fell off. Well, that's worth noting. Maybe you start recognizing that every time it feels off, it's a rug. Maybe you start avoiding those projects. The only way you know that is if you jot it down and write it down. Okay, here's another scenario. Okay, you didn't have a plan on how much to get in nor how much to get out. Okay, didn't have a plan, and so you kept moving the goalposts. Meaning, you jumped in, didn't have a plan. Okay, I'm gonna go out at 2x. I'm gonna out at 2x. I'm gonna have okay. It hits a 2x and you move your goalpost to 3x. You're like, oh hey, just a little more. I'm gonna close out at 4x. And guess what? It eventually tanks. You didn't have a plan. You were just hoping for the best. Okay. Next thing, you saw so much potential with the project, you went ahead and added a bigger contribution, meaning you didn't stick to your money management plan. Let's say that you only have one B&B to put in. Okay? Putting one B&B in a project is incredibly risky. What happens if the project tanks? What if the project is a rug? You're out the B&B, or the B&B is tied up because now you're vested. But if you were to put 0.1 into 10 different projects, now you have some room to work. Okay? So with this, I saw so much potential with this project, I went ahead and added a bigger contribution. Okay, meaning you didn't stick to your money management. Let's say you're going to do a 0.1 and you're like, oh, you know what, let's just go ahead and do a 0.3. Okay, price blew past your 2x goal, so you let it ride. 3x, 4x, 5x, then out of nowhere, price tanked, kept holding because you knew it would go back up and you ended up losing it all. Okay, here's another example. You're finally getting the hang of this. The project checked all your boxes. You stuck to your original contribution. Once the project hit the 2x, you closed your position and did a rip. Okay, I'm so excited. Then you saw the chart and it went for a 10x. Okay? That's okay. This right here, this scenario is a massive win. Don't worry about what could have been, what should have been. We can always kick ourselves because hindsight's 2020. Oh, if I'd only known Bitcoin was going to do what it did 10 years ago. I mean, come on. Let's be real. We can't go back in time, just like you can't go back in time on these launches. If you stuck to your plan, no matter what the outcome was, that is a win, my friends. Next one, this is easy peasy. I was made for this, great looking project. I was shooting for a 2x, but that happened so fast, it was a 3x, and by the time I was able to swap out, ended up getting a 1.25x. Okay, so maybe you're not prepared. Maybe maybe you got distracted. Maybe you hopped on a phone call, you're playing a video game, or the kids, were doing something where it was time to eat dinner and you forgot you were in a launch. Okay, it's just, being mindful of that stuff. Last one, just like clockwork, stuck to my plan, closed out at a 2x, was on to the next project, simple as brushing my teeth. And that's the idea. We want to be automatic. We want this to be a process where you take the emotion out of this. You take the emotion out and you're rocking and rolling, you're sticking to your plan, and you know what's going on. Okay. Hey, Brandy, glad that you're enjoying it. Welcome, Ahmad. Welcome, Felipe. Melride says having a volume of launch sheet for each type of project. Absolutely. Like 100%. Because every project is different. Okay? Every project is different. Game tokens versus meme tokens versus utility tokens are all going to act differently. That is a metric in and of itself. Okay, Metaloride, he focuses on gaming projects. He's really good at that. And so, for you personally, that is a fantastic strategy because you're not combining different ideas and philosophies. The way meme projects handle and work are totally different. Okay, totally different than how real-world utility projects work. Okay. Yeah, Melloride's bringing sexy back. Oh, that's great. So that is fantastic. Right now, even meme projects posted by different scouts. Let's kick it up a notch. Not all memes are created equal. There was a time, a few months back, where Radical was posting a lot of meme projects. Well, actually, I mean that's his kind of bread and butter. He's had a second child, so he's been a little inactive lately. But he's like the king of meme projects, the king of memes. And he started posting like duck emu and frog emu and goat emu. I mean, it was like a barnyard. It's like old McDonald up in the Vetter ecosystem, and he had a high success rate. Now, just because we're seeing massive results on goat emu, frog emu, duck emu, hippo emu, it does not mean that if you stroll up to Pink Cell and you see a dog emu, that it's going to do well. Why? Because not all scouts have the same resources, perspectives, and process when they're finding projects. That's why it's important to put the scout ID here. I guarantee if I ever showed up to the calendar with a project, something Inu, it's going to be a much different outcome and result than what Radical gets. Why? Because we have two different processes, strategies, and things like that. Okay? So that's how that works right there. Now, the other day I had a pretty cool idea to start adding the projects that we talk about on these sessions. So for example, if it's a project that we think is going to do well, how did it actually do? So over time, I'll be adding this in and filling this stuff in, and I'll give us an update on when that's up and running. And but I thought it'd be cool to just see, all the projects we've talked about for the last 6 months. How did they do? And where were we? What was our call? What was our opinion on it? Did it play out? Did it tank at launch? Did it come back? Did it do good? Were our suspicions right about the team or about the lack of information? How did it work out? Okay, similar to that of what we talked about with Crowdy. There were a lot of concerns last Thursday for Crowdy, And the concerns were realized whenever the pre-sale was just absolutely abysmal. And the team had zero updates. It was absolutely garbage. It was horrible. But we saw the red flags. We saw the writing on the wall. And so underneath live sessions here, you'll be able to see that stuff. So I'll add that stuff in over time, and when it's all updated, maybe every week, every session, we'll just hop on here, add the new projects that we talk about for that. Hey, Alex, welcome. Yeah, Gene or John, the Duck Inu, absolutely. There was a bunch. I mean, there was literally enough to have a barnyard a few months back. So this section right here, I put a little calculator in here to determine price of pre-sale and fair launch based on some formulas that I had seen, especially for the fair launch estimator price. And then over here, this is where it can get really fun for you. Let me go ahead and copy this just real quick. There we go. So right here, this is where it can get fun for you. You could start by, when you're documenting these projects, and you're realizing like, oh, well, hey, let me just delete all this so you can see how this works. Okay, so the way this works is, okay, so project 1, anything under a 1.1x, okay, and you say, okay, that was a loss, or at least at this time frame it was a loss. And then the next project you got into, it did a 2x. Okay, and then the next project you got into, it just did a 1.25. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm copying these colors and I'm pasting it into the blocks. And now you can visually see what a track record is, what your track record is. Like, oh, that's cool. And this is a similar method that we use to do the hot streak rewards for the scouts. And but it's a nice visual for you to see exactly what's going on. And you may all of a sudden realize certain patterns. You may realize like, wow, like there's an average of a 2x. And when you start realizing these patterns, you can then start deciding what your money management is going to be based on this information. If you consistently get 2x's, why would you shoot for a 3x as your target? That doesn't make sense. Okay? If 70% of the time you get a 2x, 10% of the time you get a 3x, and 2% or 20% of the time you get it's a loss, it doesn't make sense to always go for that 3x. Why? Because literally 1 out of 10 times you're going to hit it. Okay, obviously, the longer you do this, the longer this goes, the more accurate it is. Okay? But if you believe that, I guess a better way to put it is, if you believe that something's going to moon, and you believe something's going to 20x, 50x, 100x, what gives you that indication or idea that that's what's going to happen? Beyond just a feeling and beyond just hype. So when I look at this like, hey, statistically speaking, what could happen here? Like, is it likely that 100x could happen? Now, if I believe in that, maybe a strategy would be RIP FT. Okay, RIP stands for Recoup Investment Profit. So if you're brand new and you're taking notes, like I know Brandy's taking notes right now. RIP stands for Recoup Investment and Profit. So you put in your 1 BNB, you pull out your 2 BNB, you did a 2x, you pull out your 2 BNB, and you're on to the next project. You're good to go. A RIP FT would be Recoup Investment Profit, RIP. FT stands for Free Tokens, meaning you get in, you have some point where you take out your initial contribution, and you have free tokens left in the project. So, for example, you put in 1 BNB, it does a 2x, you take out your 1 BNB and you let the free tokens ride. It's now risk-free. Okay? The stuff that we're talking about can support you in those choices and decisions. Maybe you realize, now we're getting really deep, but if you want to treat it seriously, this is some of the conversations you get to have. If you are sitting there and you're thinking, okay, if statistically, what's the best way to do, to pull out my profits? Some people could say that so some people talk about, DCAN, dollar cost averaging in. Well, what about dollar cost averaging out? What about pulling profits at certain points? Every time it does a 1x or a 2x, every time it's up 50% or 100%, you pull out a portion of your tokens. Every time, like clockwork. That's a strategy as well. Now, someone would argue, well, Ryan, if the project does a 10x and you pull out money every 50% gain or 100% gain, you would have ended up with a much bigger profit at a 10x if you left it all in. Yeah, you would have. But do you know the project's going to 10x? Give me your crystal ball. I want to share it with our community. So this just comes down to your own personal risk tolerance and how you want to manage your projects. Okay, like Justin Millerad just said, you can't go broke taking a profit. There'll always be another project that you could do the same. Imagine compounding 2x compounding day after day. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a high risk. Guys, this is incredibly high risky. You should take out the fact that there's rugs and honeypots and scammers. Take that all out of the equation. You literally have zero control over what the price is going to do on the chart. No control. Zero. Okay? Nothing. You have no control over whether it's going to go up and no control over whether it's going to go down. You are literally along for the ride. And so, as Justin just said, and just like I said, you're not going to go broke by taking profits and taking profits early and often. You can always kick yourself in the butt and say, you know what, I really wish I would have risked my 1 BNB to get that 10x. Instead of, you ended up with getting a 4x overall with zero risk instead of risking it all to get the 10x. Do what works best for you, okay? You may find out of a volume of launches that it's actually worth it to go for that 10x. And you may have the mental toughness and vision and resiliency and wallet to do so. Not everybody is like that. Okay? I personally don't think that there's any harm in being conservative and learning and growing and developing and then flexing that risk tolerance muscle. Okay? That's what again, it's not financial advice. And I think so far everything I've said is not financial advice. We're having a conversation around ideas and concepts for money management. At the core of it, it's about having a process in place, having a plan in place to support yourself and making sure that you're sticking to it and tracking the results and making sure that at the end it makes sense. Here's another thing you may realize. Here's something that's really cool that you may realize. Let's clear this out again. Let's clear these out. And let's clear this one out. Whoops. All right, so let's say that you're getting a 2x, 2x, 3x, 3x, 5x, 10x, 3x, 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 5x, 1.1x, 1.25. Let's just pretend that you had an amazing streak and you're the first person to ever have a 10 streak in our community. Congratulations. You're a rock star. Let's say that you're only going after a 2x. Okay? You're only going after a 2x. And I I haven't done the math fully on this, but stick with me. So we got, your target's always been a 2x, but after your volume of launches, you realize that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 11, 12. Yeah, 12. Yeah, so 5 out of 12 goes for 3x, and 3 out of 12 goes 5x and above. What I'm getting at is, through a volume of launches, you realize that you're taking profits early, and there's room to either take less profit and let it ride to that next 3x level. Why? Because your track record shows that. It supports that. So what I'm saying is, if you always just wait for that 2x and you're out, you could find yourself in a situation where you're leaving money on the table. But again, the only way you would know that is through doing a volume of launches and consistently doing a volume of launches. Okay, so that is that in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type it in the chat, and we can, go over those. Okay. But that is the general idea on how that works. But I invite you to use this chart and use the document to keep track of what's going on, and support yourself in keeping track of this stuff so you can actually see it. I look at hundreds of projects a month, and I look at it in one format. But I tell you what, it was really a game changer for me when I was able to see this format right here. When I was able to see this format. Like, wow, that's really cool. And that's, how we came up with the hot streak reward system, was seeing this. Recognizing that, there's streaks happening for different scouts, and, rewarding those and things like that. And if you are, if you're new here, you actually get paid to scout projects. You actually get paid to add projects to the calendar. And you get paid Vetter to add projects to the calendar. And you also are able to receive bonuses and tips as a result of adding good projects. So the community tips Vetter. So for example, Meadow the Ride right here received a 1,000 Vetter tip for this project. Powabit. It's a funny name. And then through our hot streak reward system, you're able to receive Vetter and BNB as rewards. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool how all this works. All right, does anybody have any projects that they want to take a look at today? We have time to do a project before we hop off today. And also, was this helpful? Was this information helpful? Did you learn something? Did you gain any insights into, oh, hey, I see how this could work for me. I see how this could help me. Feel free to drop it in the comments. Letting me and everyone else know, what was your aha moment? What was your realization? Did it help you? Was this session helpful in, recognizing some things that you could do that could support yourself, or sharpen your axe, or help you, support you in being a better, better with Vetter. Kim says it's very helpful. Awesome, Kim. I'm glad that it was helpful. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. I did not look to see what projects were coming up. So we already looked at Lucro launch today. We already looked at Zopad, Exopad. Kim, I'm glad that was helpful. Awesome. Brandy asked, do you have a video specifically on paper trading? So this session specifically was on that. Was there something missing, or something that I could add to this conversation, Brandy, that would answer that question? We've talked about this topic a handful of times over the last 6 months, but today is what we just covered is the most recent, and the replay will be available as soon as the live stream ends. But is there something specific that would be helpful for you, Brandy? Okay, so I'm looking at Metal Red. I'm seeing if Metal Red. Do you have any projects that you would like us to take a look at real quick, or King Astronaut? Do you have any projects? Oh yeah, thank you, Kim. Yeah, so paper trading, Brandy. I may have misunderstood your question. Paper trading is literally. Let's just go through the motions here. I'll show you a real world example of how this would work. Okay, so what you would do is you would come over here to the document, right here, volume of launches, right here, and you would add Carecoin V2. Okay, and then you would take the DApp link. So this is exactly what paper trading is. Okay, so you would take the DApp link and you put it over here. Okay, and then now you would do your research. You do your due diligence, and you would decide on whether or not this is a project that you like or don't like, that you'd be interested or not interested in, whatever the case. It's okay. But you would research it. You would check out the website. You would check out the Telegram group. You would ask your questions. You would be in the community saying, "Hey guys, this is what I found about this. What do you think?" Okay, and you would decide on whether or not it's a project you would get into. Now, you're not going to get into it. Paper trading is treating it seriously, but not actually getting in. Okay, so you would not get into it. Okay, but you're treating it like you would. Okay, so you go over to the Telegram group. You'd be hopping in their AMAs. You'd be asking questions. You'd be doing your due diligence. Okay, and then you'd be like, all right, let's go check out the pink cell. Okay, so now you're still doing your due diligence. We're going to pretend that this was 2 days ago. The fair launch was still open. Okay, you're doing your due diligence. You're watching. You're researching. Like, okay, great. This is how this works. Okay, this is what this is. Okay, great. And then you would pretend to contribute. You wouldn't actually contribute. You would just pretend to contribute. Okay, you would just pretend, and you would say, okay, I contributed, and you would write down over here how much you contributed. Like in the notes section or something. Write down however much you contributed. Like, okay, 1 BNB. Okay? And then you may have over here, what's your target? So you're going for a 2x. Okay? So then let's pretend that Carecoin launches and you show up to launch. Okay, you show up to launch and you're waiting for your 2x. Okay? You claim your tokens off a pink cell. You're waiting for your 2x. You basically have your chart marked up, and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going for a 2x. Here is your 2x mark right here. Okay. You got to figure out what are the taxes for the day. If the taxes are 15% or whatever, you get to decide how much that is. So your 1 BNB plus the taxes. So you get to calculate how that works out. But this is what your line would be. Okay. Now, obviously, this happened really fast, within 2 minutes, so you get to be quick, you get to be ready. But right here, you'd say, okay, look, I got in the fair launch, I claimed my tokens, here's launch, it launched, okay, great, things are going great, here's my take profit line. When price crosses this line, it's time to execute. Okay, so you close out, and that's how you do that. Okay, and then you would document it over here on your list. Was it profitable? Yeah. I got my 2x. Got my 2x over here. My 1 BNB is now my 2 BNB plus tax. Making sure everything's good. Okay, you'd have your notes in here about what you discovered, what your thoughts were leading to the pre-sale or the fair launch, what your thoughts were leading in. You talk about what you did at launch, like wow, it happened really fast. So for example, let's say this. Okay, your target's 2x. It blew up 2x within 3 minutes, dropped below within 5, and then it was up back up. Let's see. This is probably like I don't know 10 minutes. On the dot, yeah. Okay, so 10 minutes. So within the first 10 minutes, you literally got your 2x. Okay, so maybe you missed this opportunity right here. And so now you're waiting for it to go back up, and you hit it right here. Oh, wait, great. Right here, you had a couple minutes to swap out. That's how, that's what you would put in the notes. That's what you would talk about right there. This is how it worked. This is what I did. This is how I executed. Brandon, does that make sense? Is that helpful on how that part works? I was catching up on chat. That was the silence there. So let's see. Metalrad, is that a project that I was trying to catch up on chat, but is that a project that I couldn't tell if you vetted that or not? Let me look. Let me see. Ant Networks. Okay. Yay! Congratulations, Metalrad. Hey, let's give a big shout out and the celebratory woot woot for Metalrad. He just rip FT'd on Lucro, got his initial investment out, and left in 50% of free tokens to let it ride. Congratulations, brother. That is fantastic. All right, so before we wrap up today, we'll just go over this one project. So we always have something to look at. We can add one more to our list. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is who's a scout? Metalrad, great scout, awesome contributor in the community. And so always good to have his perspective and insights on a project. Next thing we want to do is take a look at the website. All right, so right away this looks like a professional type website. Very I don't know what word to use. I don't know if rigid is the right word, but it's very I don't know if specific is the right word. It just has a certain vibe to it that's very maybe technical. Maybe technical is the right word. I'm confused about this part right here though. Why is this this formatting's a little off? Let me close this. Close that. Oh, it's scrolling. There we go. Okay. At first, I didn't see these arrows and it was making me think that something was wrong. But that's okay. That makes sense now. All right, so we have AntWorks Live, freelancer marketplace platform that connects customers to all kinds of services, including but not limited to services in the cryptocurrency niche. Okay, a wallet is in progress. Ant Pay, real world merchants in all walks of life easily accept payment in cryptocurrencies. A DEX, a chat, bot-free instant messaging software that allows users to access unique functionalities based on their crypto holdings while maintaining anonymity and privacy. And a shop. Okay. 6 decentralized apps revolving around the AntX token. Oh, I do like seeing videos on the site. And we have the team. We have a team with name and a little bio. Johan focuses mainly on networking, partnerships, managing operations. He's been a part of a multi-million-dollar crypto projects and has been in the blockchain space for the last couple of years. We got Hussein. We got James, and we have Riff. Okay, take a look at the videos. All right, so we got 76 views in the last about 15 days or so for this one. And for this project, we have 77 views. All right. So about the same amount of people who are watching video 1 and video 2. All right, so this team, I would say this team is a little bit younger. I would, it's not definitely not an older team. I would say, okay, so they're not a young team, but they're not a, they don't appear to be the same age as Carecoin or those guys. They appear to be a little bit younger than that. So I would say 20s is what I would guess. Where I felt like Carecoin was maybe 30 to 40 range. At least that's the vibe that I'm getting here. Now I would be curious to know what other projects they've worked on. Maybe we'll find that in the Telegram group. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at, what did it say on the roadmap here? Okay, Q2 of 2022. I want to look at there we go. So Q3 is just started. Public presale launch. Okay, so what did they wrap up in Q2? Okay. Now, Metalride did share some stuff in chat. I'll get to go check up on that in a minute, but we're just doing some digging right now. Okay. So next thing I want to look at is just Telegram health. Let's take a look at their Telegram group. So this is a portal, okay? Whenever you click on a project and it takes you to a page like this, this is a portal. This is not the actual Telegram group. Okay, so if you were to join this, nothing's going to happen. So what you want to do is, you don't want to click Join Channel. You want to click Start. You click Start, and it opens up in this messenger here. You click Start right here. And you just get to follow the prompts. It says human authentication. Please click the button below to verify that you're human. Verify. I've noticed a handful of projects are starting to do this now, like this. Please click each image containing an adult cat. What? This is the first time I've seen something like this. I only see 3 kitties. Hey, I made it, guys. I made the test. They allowed me in the group. So once you do whatever their quiz is or whatever the test is, you're able to join. And now you're able to join the group here. Okay, join group. And so now we're in the group. Okay, so now we're actually in the group, okay? Yeah, at first glance, I was like, all those look like the same to me. And then I realized there were some little kitties hidden amongst the adults there. All right, so we got 375 members, 42 pinned messages. All right, so we got a smaller group here, 372 members, but we do have 42 pinned messages. So it seems like there's good communication happening. Let's check out how old the group is. So right now we're in August. We're in June 15th. Let's go over there. Scroll up. Looks like June 15th. So we got June to July, July to August, August, September. We got 90 days. Groups been going for 90 days. That's pretty good. 40, like I said, 42 pinned messages. That's good. I would like to think that there's probably no bots in the chat simply because there's not enough people in here for there to be bots. Okay. So again, remember on other conversations, When we looked at Crowdy, remember all the nonsense and chaos that was in that group, and here we are with this, and this is what we should see. Okay. Oh yeah, I know that guy. Let's see what he's talking about. The white paper looks great and has lots of info in it. Refreshing for once to see a project that took the time to create a good one. Is there still a private sale opportunity, or is the pre-sale the next step? All right. Okay, so the next thing that I'd want to look at is, can we find any AMAs? Well, now we're getting our marketing questions answered. Let's see what this person said here. What's your plan to get 2,000 BNB in pre-sale round? That's pretty high. What's your plan to do a successful launch in Pancake? Fast Track, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, and channel calls are common. Sorry to say, I don't see hype in here right now. We need more marketing so we can close the private sale and go on to the next phase. Let's see here. He responded back within 5 o'clock in the morning. May not be their time. It could be a different time, but he responded back. So that's good to see James responding back quickly. We have a strategy in place for pre-sale marketing that will include very heavy marketing exposure, including big AMAs, partnerships, and trending, guerrilla marketing, CX, and more. Trust me when I say the marketing will be covered. Now, the thing about this is, you can only do so much stuff. Okay? You can only do so much stuff with these types of marketing. I mean, let's be real. These call groups are talking about all these different projects, and so the question is, how do you stand out amongst all these same strategies? And this just goes for any project in general. Okay, we can look at Vetter, we can look at Skylabs, we can look at Lucro, we can look at Carecoin, we can look at Ant Networks, all of them. It's all the same. Okay, so how do you actually stand out in a space where people are looking for a quick flip and a pump, in and out, on with it? How do you communicate that this is different, we're different? How do you show that? How do you build that true community who believe in the vision and mission of what's going on? And this is just a general thought. Some of the thoughts I've been having as of late, because there's the same blueprint that these projects are doing, because that's how it works. I mean, I personally have a handful of ideas on how to break out of that blueprint, but I just want to plant that seed for all of us, because yes, we can do crowdsourcing for finding projects and things like that, but we can also do crowdsourcing with networking and increasing token holders. And so I just wanted to plant the seed, for all of us listening right now. And Brandy, you actually said something in Telegram today that was very intelligent and mature, and the fact that you recognize that is really important. The comment that you made earlier about the whole relational side of this, and the whole networking side of this, and that's a big component. I believe that the communities that are actually going to expand and grow in this market in the current season are the ones who are doing those types of things, relationship building and community building, and not relying on crypto ads and crypto call groups. Let's see here. Is there any AMAs on the schedule coming up? I don't see a response. Melloride said he did their AMA. Is that the only AMA that they have? Just curious. Let's see. Recording. Okay. Melloride is the one and only, the one and only AMA that they've done so far, which is great. Great for him. He's helping them build their brand. Oh, and the blog said, okay, cool. I will take a look at that in just a minute. So let's see what they say for doxed. Ant Networks is a decentralized network that will build a suite of scalable, user-friendly dApps and real-life utilities that will expedite global crypto adoption. Utilities include all the things we just talked about a minute ago. Established team from successful projects, docs, KYC. Let's look at previous projects. So is this a relaunch? The project never reached its potential, and we had some issues with the previous developers of the dApps. So now we have rebranding, got new developers. Okay, cool. Do you know if the devs are in house? Or if the devs are like contracted? Do we know that yet? You may have asked that in your AMA, actually. I'll look at that in a minute, I promise. Okay. Let's see what's going on since I've joined chat. So I joined chat. Wait a second. Oh, there's been nothing happened in the last 30 minutes. Okay, so it's a smaller group. We got King Astronaut in the house. Melorad and King Astronaut. And it's like a tag team wrestling match up in here. Okay. Melorad, I forgot the question that I just asked. What was the question that I asked that you just responded to? I don't remember what it was. Previous projects? That was for you. That was for you. I was thinking like WWE wrestling. I wasn't thinking, anyway. Was it previous projects? Was that the question that? Oh, developers. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna read what Melorad had said in his scouting and vetting report here. All right, positives. Core team has their pictures and basic bios posted on the website. Red flags. There's not been an audit yet. I think it may be a little early for this project to be launching. I'd prefer to see it wait a few months to launch and have more of the utilities. Just out of curiosity, if this is a relaunch, what happened with the first one? I mean, did it tank? Because yeah, I guess I'm getting the vibe that it may not have done too good in the beginning, given that the current state of things, and there's still you personally feel they're not ready, which I kind of would agree with that. Things seem to be a little small. I'd like to see more information about the core team. The dev team is outsourced and not in-house. Comments. Oh, we already talked about that. Okay, here's a Q&A. Any AMAs scheduled? Yes. Biconomy coming up in about a week or so. 6 legs of the major utilities ecosystem currently complete and ready for use, or are they still in development? The gasless freelancer marketplace, which is like Antex work. Antex wallet will be next, and work is already ongoing, as well as a mobile application. Other utilities are in the pipeline. Real World Utility, Merch Store, and Crypto Cafe also. So the 6 legs, I'm assuming, is a very large undertaking to develop. When does the team feel total completion of them? How much time after token launch are they done? This is a great question. And the reason he's asking this, the reason Melrad's asking this is there are some projects who look to have the success of the launch feed and fund the project development. Well, in this kind of market, this is not a meme hype token. Okay, this is like a utility token. And so, if a utility token doesn't have the utility, why would someone just want to hold for nothing? So we've seen a handful of projects that have pretty cool utility, but there's still a period of time where they get to build it out, and people may not want to wait for that. So that's really, really important question. It's a long-term project with the final utilities launching in Q4 of 2023. Okay, so we got like a whole nother year for some of the utilities. Mobile app under development, which are expecting to be fully live for Android after launch. Smart Wallet is our next upcoming utility, already under development. We'll release a sneak peek of Smart Wallet as soon as possible. All our utility includes burn mechanism, which means any transaction on any utility will burn AntX. More adoption, more burn. Could you please clarify what do you mean when you mention crypto freelancer in the white paper? Not sure what that is. Anyone who sells their services to different people, basically. Content creation, community moderation, developers, you name it. The AntX work is a marketplace to browse and pay for the services. Now gasless too, so no fees. We plan to onboard more services and generate project buzz. Who's responsible for vetting the freelancers? The core team. Process for vetting, we do it manually. We always verify the legitimacy of service providers. Safety is super important. What's the revenue source? Great question. All 6 utilities will have revenue source, but not at launch of product. As of now, when we grow, so revenue will not be there until I guess when all the utilities are up and running. What cryptocurrencies will AntX Shop support? Stablecoins and native token. Will the revenue source of the 6 legs be shared with holders, or will it become general revenue of the parent company? Profit sharing. 20% of revenue generation will be distributed to holders. We'll reveal more details about near launch. Kind of interesting that those details aren't ready now. And not in the white paper. Is that something that you're curious about, Metalrad? The fact that that's not disclosed now and it's not in the white paper. Will that be the same for the AntX Cafe? Revenue generation contracts. So all revenue from different utility can be tracked 100% transparent. Yes. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. I guess this may be a silly question, guys, but like, obviously the white paper is like the bread and butter. This is like what we do. Is it common to change parts of the white paper? For example, they don't have it listed in the white paper now, and they'll add it later, or take it away later, or modify it later. Would that be something that would be confusing? Yeah, it seems like something that would be worth making a lot of. That's a big deal. Profit sharing is a big deal, and so for that not to be in the white paper, that's a little confusing. Here's a good question: where are the funds coming from to finance such an ambitious project? At the moment, our main focus is generate revenue from AntX. Where I keep wanting to say AntWorks, ANTWRX. So that's why I keep getting hung up. AntX work and work on smart wallets. We plan to raise around more than 2,000 BNB, and we believe if we spend money wisely, it's possible to achieve. If required, we'll raise funds later on via angel investors. Okay. I see the liquidity is locked for a year. I understand we are looking at a V3 upgrade within the next year with PancakeSwap, which would then require new liquidity added, which could be very expensive, seeing only 3% total tax in the tokenomics. Is there a possibility to only maybe look at 6-month lock for that reason? Good point. We're discussing the different options. We have plans for multi-chain Ethereum 2.0 and Polygon. Oh, there's more. Okay. Oh, this is a very detailed Q&A session. Let's see. I missed my spot clicking that little button. Here we go. A CX listing. How long will the influencer be compensated? Will it be with native token? Not paying anyone a native token, even development as well. That's great. Could you explain what the timer is? Okay, that was a previous project. Okay. Many factors, to be honest, we wanted bigger vision mainly and had ideas for more utilities and better branding. It launched in November 2021 and stopped June 17th. 800 holders at the time of the snapshot? That's really interesting. 800 holders. I mean, I guess I'd be curious. I'm gonna look at their other Telegram group. I'm curious to see what the health of that group is. But since the new group only had 300, I kind of thought that was kind of low. So I'm curious to see what they built the other group up to. Public presale. Okay. Looks like InterFi. Is that the audit they're going to use? InterFi audit. Yeah. No, awesome. This was really good. Meloride, did you say that they did decide to postpone or push back the pre-sale, or are they going to continue continue on as planned? I don't recall. I think you'd mentioned something about that. I'll just give you a minute to respond. Oh, nice. All right. So it sounds like they're gonna. I think that's a good idea. I mean, given the size of the group, seems a little premature, especially with the amount of funds they want to raise. That seems pretty ambitious. Now, I am curious about their other projects. I'm going to do a little bit of looking into that, when we get off here. But awesome. I think this is really good. Let's go back and let's finish it off. As far as team goes, I believe the team is only 50% docs. Core team has their photos and basic bios on the website. Yeah, that was one of the things that I felt was missing was socials. Just anybody can throw up a picture and a bio and stuff, and socials can be faked, but it's just one step closer. Short summary: I believe it's too early for the project to be launching. I feel there's still a lot they need to do to have projects successful at launch. I would like to see an audit, more utilities completed, and a lot more hype. I've expressed these concerns to the team, and they're considering postponing the launch to remedy these issues. That's awesome. That's awesome. You're using those wrestling moves I was talking about. You put them in a headlock and said, "Hey, you guys need to change the launch date." Okay, yeah, outsource to developers. Perfect. Yeah, this is a good deep dive on this, man. Good job on that Q&A. That's really good. And hopefully these questions were helpful to you guys listening in on some things to ask and look for when you're looking at projects. And like I always say, it goes back to stacking probabilities. What are things that can make this project do well? What are things that can make this project not do well? And stacking probabilities and whatever checks your boxes, and then can support you making a choice on whether you want to participate or not. So that's how that stuff works. There was one other thing. Chad asks, do I have any videos on how to use the tools on Dex Tools? I do, and actually it was in the queue a while back. But I'll make a specific video on some of the things that I use and utilize on Dex Tools, Dex Screener, PooCoin. They're all the same. It's a trading view base, or I don't know what to call it, but it's trading view, and so yeah, you're able to use some tools and see what's up. So next week we'll cover some of that stuff on how to use that, how I use that, and what to look for there. So before we hop off, anybody have any questions? This is a really good session. We talked about VOL, volume of launches. We talked about paper trading. And the reason that you paper trade, the reason that you do a volume of launches is to develop KSP, knowledge of system performance. And what that means is it shows you how to know what system you're trading, and or what system Scout is trading. And so when you're looking at specific types of projects, gaming projects, IDOs, or not IDOs, gaming projects, utilities, memes, rewards, it gives you ideas on how they could potentially perform based on certain criteria and check marks or things that you're looking for. And so the value of that is to have a plan. And so I'll add this document in chat again here, so anybody can have access to that. Let me copy the link here. And so here is a place where you can document the stuff. And so if you're just now tuning in, definitely check out the replay. The document there is there in chat that you can follow along and just get some insights into, insights into yourself, insights into the projects that you're looking at, and this can support you in, understanding that there can be a process in place, and you don't have to react emotionally to the ups and downs of the chart, but you can respond based on a plan, based on data, based on the information that you've gained through a volume of launches in KSP. So with that, hey, if this session was helpful, go ahead and drop in Telegram and share what your biggest takeaway was. Share if you had any aha moments. Share whatever you thought about the session. Invite people to come check it out next Tuesday. And we will continue the conversation. We'll go into some details on tips and tricks for TradingView and PooCoin or Dex Screen or Dex Tools, and how I utilize those things. And of course, we'll always look at some pre-sales. So with that, again, hey, thank you for being here. I'll end like I always do. Life can be short, so for those that you care and love, let them know you care and love them. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this awesome community. What we're doing together is truly phenomenal, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it and to hang out with you guys and learn and grow together. So with that, I will see you guys in Telegram. Bye for now.